Hey, what's up guys? We're back. We're going to be doing another full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC Fight Night. This week it's Miesha Tate taking on Ketlen Vieira in the main event. It's a pretty good card. They got Brady taking on Chiesa in the co-main event. Yahya is making his return. They got guys like Adrian, Yanez on the card. We got some people returning like Terrance, McKinney, like Loma, Lookboonmee, Lupita, Godinez. So it's an interesting card in my opinion. I honestly feel like Brady versus Chiesa should have been the main event personally. Could live without Miesha Tate versus Vieira being 5 rounds, but that's what we got right here. It's a fun fight card top to bottom though. Like I said, there's some interesting matchups, and we're gonna break down every fight like usual. So just before we get the video started, I really would urge you guys to comment down below. Tell me what you think about the main event. What do you think about the fight card in general? Which fights you looking forward to? What are you betting on? Everything like that. Definitely interested in what you guys have to say. And just drop a like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm always going to be giving good content with these UFC Fight Night breakdowns, pay-per-views. And if you want to get some extra content, you want to get my betting packages. We did do pretty well last week. We won about 2.5 units over the weekend on all the events there. So going to be looking to keep that going. We won the parlay of the week last week as well for the channel. So that was good also. And if, like I said, if you want to get some more content like that, some more videos from other organizations, different type of breakdowns, Bellator, Fury FC, LFA, ACA, maybe even some boxing stuff, whatever I got betting, I'm going to put in there. I'm going to give you guys a breakdown. It's going to be as good as I can get it. So definitely check out the Patreon if you're interested in content like that. This is a good fight right here. Luana Pinheiro taking on Sam Hughes. It's a 115-pound fight, women's fight, obviously. And Pinheiro, she's coming off her win in her UFC debut technically, but to me, it's kind of her official debut here. She had her first fight, and she was doing pretty well against Rani Marcos, but took an illegal up kick, which stunned her, ended the fight. And, it's some people kind of feel like she was acting a little bit. Maybe she was getting a little bit tired. Other people feel as if it was a flush shot that just ended the matchup. But when you look at Luana Pinheiro, her style, she's a beast, physical beast. She's a judo player. She finished her last 7 fights by first round finish. So she goes out there and gets the job done early. And she's very fast. She has good power on the feet as well, good overhands, good 1-2s. And she blitzes into the clinch and has really good head and arm throws, which is very, very good for female MMA. And she has big power, so people have to respect her hands. If she lands clean, she could hurt you. And she does have a tendency to close the distance by just running forward. She's gotten caught and dropped before due to that. And on the feet, she's really just all power and explosiveness. She really doesn't have a ton of technique. Her one pro loss, she got outstruck in the later part of the fight after her kind of speed and just explosiveness went down a little bit. She did get kind of screwed in that fight, in my opinion, though, because she actually got a takedown. She was on top with about 3 minutes left in the third round, and the ref stood him up to look at Pinheiro's nose, which was pretty busted up, but he put him back, or he didn't put them back in that position, and Pinheiro had to go back to strike on the feet, ended up losing that decision. If she would have gotten that mat time, who knows, maybe she would have been able to, hold her down and get that win. But when she goes to the mat, she's immediately looking for the submission. She has good arm bars. She has a couple rear naked chokes. She'll rain down some big ground and pound. She's really good at finding top position and scrambles. She's hard to get out from bottom under a good top pressure. She does run out of gas, though. I mean, that's something that you have to be weary about with her winning her last 7 fights in a row in the first round. She's taking on a girl that's pretty tough in Sam Hughes. And if Sam Hughes could push her into that second, third round, the wheels may fall off for Pinheiro. I've seen her get tired in certain fights on the regional scene, and obviously some people accuse her of getting tired against Rani Marcos, but Sam Hughes, she has her back against the wall here. I mean, she has back-to-back losses in the UFC. She has won against really good girls. She fought Tecia Torres. She fought Loma Lookboonmee. She got finished against Torres, and then against Lookboonmee, she really kind of got dominated, so has to put her best foot forward here. She was expecting to fight a couple weeks ago against Lupita Godinez, but the match didn't materialize. Hughes got removed due to COVID, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lupita's fighting on this card, but I guess they just didn't really want to put it together since that time. Lupita's fought twice already. This is going to be her 3rd time, so maybe they just wanted to give her a little bit better opponent. But Hughes has been out for 6 months, so I'm sure she's gonna be wanting to get in there and be ready to go. And she's a boxer wrestler. She's big for the division. She's durable. She pressures forward. She looks for that long right hand. She'll back rows up with the 1-2, and she really just wants to maul you against the cage. She's strong in the clinch. She has decent wrestling. Her last fight was just not her last fight. Her style wasn't really effective because she tried to clinch with the Muay Thai world champion. She got taken down in the clinch, got dominated. She had very little success on the feet trying to close the distance, but when she did get in that boxing range, she landed a few combinations. She was able to back Lookboonmee up a couple times, but she isn't high volume. She likes to get in the pocket, pick and pull, so sometimes she could just be staring in the mirror, waiting a lot. And when she does let her hands go, she does have decent hands, but she's nothing special. And she has great cardio, which is something that she's going to have to rely on here in this fight. She obviously isn't the athlete that Pinheiro is. She doesn't have the power. And early on, Pinheiro's going to come out like a house on fire. Really, she's going to throw her opponent around with her judo. And Hughes has to be ready to survive that storm and then take over late when Pinheiro gets tired. Luana Pinheiro, she's finished 8 of her 9 fights in the first round. Her last 7 wins, like I've said, are in the first round. And she's not been out of the first round since 2017. The last time she went to decision, she did lose. She's 1-1 in decisions overall. And but Luana should win this fight in all honesty. She's the better athlete. She has the speed advantage, the power advantage, the grappling advantage. Hughes has boxing and cardio edge, which are good advantages. But Pinheiro just has to not gas out and get finished, and she couldn't even get the finish in the first round. For Hughes, she has to pressure, get crazy, put herself in danger of getting knocked out, but put Pinheiro on the back foot, look for takedowns, and really try to push the pace. But I think Pinheiro's going to do enough to get a 29-28 decision in this one. I don't think she's going to really run over girls like she has been, these lower-level girls at the UFC level. She may be able to get Sam Hughes out of there, but I feel like it's going to be more of a grind fest where she's going to do well the first round, really well, dominate, maybe even get like a 10-8 round. Second round, I think she'll probably win the round, but it'll be a little bit dicey. And then the third round, I could see Sam Hughes even picking up the third round. But I think Pinheiro's going to get the win via decision in this one. Looking at the line, I wouldn't bet on that. I feel like she's too wide of a favorite. She's too unproven. But against Sam Hughes, like I said, I do think she should be the rightful favorite and should get the job done. This next fight here is a striker versus grappler fight with Soriano taking on Shalanan Nurdanbiek. This is going to be the second UFC fight for Shalanin. And, he's a 19-7. He's a veteran. And it's pretty crazy how many fights he's racked up in a short amount of time. I mean, he's only been a pro since 2016. He already has 26 fights. Fought 10 times in 2017 alone. But this is only the second fight of 2021 for him. So his pace has been a little bit slower. And let's see if having that longer time to prepare, maybe training and getting better could help with performances. But really not faced many great fighters. And he definitely has a padded record. He is more of a grappler. And then Soriano, he's making his return to the UFC for, I believe, the 5th time. And he came back to the UFC earlier this year against Christos Giagos. He was up a weight class, and he did fairly well. But, man, he fell victim to the boogeyman again. He got submitted for the 4th time in 4 UFC fights. And, when he debuted in 2015, he wasn't ready. He got submitted in 2 of the 3 losses. I don't know why I said the 4th time, the 3rd time, and he lost all 4 fights. But he started the fight really well, but he was darced, and he is one of the better strikers, I feel like, in the featherweight division. He trains at Sanford MMA, and really slick striking. On the feet, he's going to have a huge advantage, and this definitely is a striker versus grappler matchup with, Shalanin Nurdanbiek, looking to get it to the ground. I think Nurdanbiek really is not UFC level. I mean, he's super strong. He's physical. He can wrestle. He can grind against the cage, but he doesn't have striking. He doesn't really have great jiu-jitsu. He's finished a lot of lower-level opponents, but against UFC-level guys, I see him more grinding out finishes if he gets them. But it's just a bit hard to really get the takedowns or press into the clinch when you can't set it up with the striking. Soriano has good movement. He's going to work the low kicks. He's going to work his jabs, his crosses, try to catch Nurdanbiek as he closes the distance. If Qileng can get in position against a cage, I do think he'll be able to get the takedowns. and Soriano does give his back to stand up. Nerdy and Beck has a couple rear and good choke victories, but man, I'm leaning more towards Soriano here getting a decision or even a knockout, but there has to be a mental thing with Soriano being 0-4 in the UFC, 3 submission losses. He just could go in there and let Nerdy and Beck back him up, take him down, and submit him if he isn't in the right mindset. But being at Sanford in May, he showed performances outside the UFC against guys like Jose Mariscal, where he defended takedowns. He got takedowns of his own, defended submissions. And, I just feel like with his experience level, his striking advantage on the feet, training at the gym that he is, I think that he should get the win here. I think he's going to either win by knockout or decision. But I feel like Shailan, has value at plus 205 or over 200 favorite. I mean, if he gets the takedowns, he could maybe control or get the submission, and that has been a style that's plagued Soriano in the past. Soriano's had no success at the UFC level, so wouldn't mind the shot on Nerdy and Beck, but for me, I'm going to pick Sean Soriano. This next fighter here, I really like this matchup with Cody Durden and Qileng Aori. This is going to be a flyweight fight. Another Chinese fighter, Naori, is going to be fighting against Cody Durden, who's fighting out of Georgia. And Cody Durden, this is going to be his 3rd UFC appearance. He's still looking for his first win. His first fight was a good performance. He went in there, he had a draw with Chris Gutierrez, dominated the first round, controlled the back, but lost the second round, lost the third round, and ended up getting the draw. Then in his last fight, he started fast. It looked like he had Jimmy Flick in trouble a couple times on the feet, but got sloppy, got caught with the flying triangle in the first round, and, he tapped out. But it's been almost a year since he's fought, and it's put up a shutout time. I mean, obviously, not having to win in 2 UFC fights is not good. If he goes 3 fights without having to win, he may get cut here. And he's a good wrestler. His striking is okay. He is athletic. He's very aggressive. And he's pretty quick. He switches stances. He has good leg kicks. He's active with his jab. Good job of jabbing his way into the right hand or the takedown. And you'll fake the level changes, come over the top with the the straights or the overhands. He has decent kicks. He'll throw question mark kicks, high kicks. Pretty good movement, and that helps his level changes. And he was able to land some nice leg kicks against Chris Gutierrez, some shots on the feet, because obviously people have to respect his wrestling, and he can get off a little bit. And he did get his leg battered against Chris Gutierrez. He holds his hands low, and sometimes when fighters can get the timing, they can land on him and hit him with intercepting shots like crosses, knees up the middle, kicks. He doesn't really have huge danger factor on the feet, Durden. He doesn't really have big knockout power, so guys can walk him down and throw combinations as well and put him on the back foot. And definitely more of a wrestler grappler. I mean, he's a strong wrestler. Good job setting up his takedowns with punches. He has a good double. And when he gets top position, he's very aggressive with his ground and pound. He has good back takes. And he was able to win the first round against Chris Gutierrez 10-8 due to controlling from the back mount for almost the entire round. A few quick rear naked chokes. And his jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, though, overall is a little bit suspect. I've seen him, get a little bit too over-aggressive, forget about defense. He got submitted via flying triangle against Jimmy Flick. He also has been submitted against a 12-13 fighter in 2018. His one loss as an amateur was a submission loss. Cardio-wise, Durden does slow down a little bit. He's finished 4 of his last 5 wins via first-round finish. His one win that went to round 2 was against Dre Miley. And Dre Miley, I mean, he's a really good story. He's a fun fighter, but he's a one-eyed fighter, and, he's not very good. So beating him in the second round doesn't really, in my opinion, show, you have great cardio. 8 of Durden's 11 wins overall are first-round finishes. And Durden, he did gas in his fight with Chris Gutierrez in the 3rd round. For Qileng Aori, he came up short in his UFC debut, but he had a banger against Jeff Molina. It was a great fight, and he was looking like he was going to be up 2-0 going into the 3rd, but got dropped right at the bell. That changed the entire fight. Molina took the 2nd, dominated the 3rd, got the decision, and that loss snapped a 6-fight win streak for Aori. For Qileng Aori, he's very athletic. He's a good striker, good footwork, and keeps it in and out. He's fast. Good job circling a lot, darting in with the straight right hand. Pull counters are pretty good. He could slip and rip very effectively. Good job returning with combinations. After an opponent lands, he'll respond right away. Good rear leg kicks to the body. He'll throw front kicks, round kicks. Even though he has good in and out movement. He doesn't really move his head, and that did get him hit a ton against Jeff Molina when Molina started to get his jab going and find his range with the boxing. Thing about it is Cody Durden isn't going to be throwing boxing combinations like that. He doesn't have that level of skill that Jeff Molina does, so it's going to be a different fight. And I already had a much different game plan in that fight. I think he will in this fight circle around, use a lot more movement, try to walk Durden into strikes early to avoid the takedowns, controlling range. Against Jeff Molina, he was trying to walk him down and get him to the cage and grapple. And he's a strong grappler in his own right. He isn't super offensive with his wrestling in certain fights, but we've seen him use it like his last fight. He's big, he's physical for the division, and he's fought quite a few Russian fighters in Asia. He's shown he can defend wrestling. He's improved his sprawl a lot. He's very fast with his reaction time. He's a good athlete overall. And he's shown, he fought this guy, Amirlan Amirov, who's looked like a good wrestler. I was able to catch their 5-round fight. He didn't have the same striking acumen that Cody Durden even has. He was a little bit lower level, but he was a better wrestler in my opinion, had good control on top. And Iori, the first time they fought, him and Amirov, he lost, but then they had a rematch, and Iori got the job done. He did a great job moving a lot. He defended a few takedowns. He didn't get taken down, but he was able to work back up to his feet. And he showed great fight IQ in that fight. When he saw his opponent get a little bit tired, he started to push the pace. He started to go to the body. And, he really broke his opponent and ended up, defeating him. And when fighters can get Iori to the ground, he does struggle a little bit. He doesn't have the best get-ups, even though he has improved with that. In his fight with Jeff Molina, he did land a single leg. He was able to get a couple takedowns in that fight, pressure combos, control against the cage. And, he comes in excellent shape. He doesn't get tired. That's one thing that he has an advantage over in terms of against Cody Durden. And this is a fight that I think Iori actually has a lot of advantages. I think he's a bigger guy. He's a little bit stronger, better cardio. I think he has the better striking. Durden's going to be explosive and aggressive early on, and he's going to be game the entire fight because he's tough. But on the feet, I think Iori's going to piece him up on the counter. I feel like Durden's wrestling is good, but not elite. And Iori has proven that he has pretty solid takedown defense, offense as well. And he has more experience. He's faced that wrestler style before. He, has defeated that style. And I think Durden may start hot, but Iori, once he settles in, find his range, I think he's going to really pick Durden apart a little bit. I think Durden's going to start to lose a little bit of steam. And I think Iori's going to take over at the counter, the pressure, the body shots. And I could even see him get a TKO victory. But I'm going to pick Qileng Iori by decision in this one. And this next one, you got a fight between two prospects with Terrance McKinney and Ziam. Terrance McKinney, he leapt on in the UFC scene 5 months ago. He knocked out Matt Frevola in 7 seconds, the fastest finish in UFC lightweight history. And, that's the way to debut, man. You got to talk to Joe Rogan, stole the show that night. And that's the type of explosive finishing ability McKinney brings to the cage. He's a demon early in his fights. He's 6 submissions. He has 6 sub-1 minute finishes, so he's finished 6 fights in less than a minute. He has 2 sub-1 minute losses as well. So 2 times he's went out there and lost in less than a minute. 6 times he's went out there and won in less than a minute. Pretty wild. He's never been in decision. He's only been out of the first round 1 time, or twice, and he's 1-1 in those fights. He went past the first round against Sean Woodson on the Contender Series. He got hit with a flying knee and knocked out. And he went to the 3rd round in a fight in 2018 and got a heel hook victory in the 3rd rounds. And McKinney, the way he fights, he comes out, he's like a bat out of hell early. Obviously, when you look at his record, you're going to think that. He just throws caution to the wind with his strike. He closes the gap, throws 1-2s, has a really nice high kick. But defensively, he's right there to be hit, man. He turns it into 50-50 firefights. And earlier in his career, he wasn't getting a lot of finishes on the feet. That started to happen more recently. What he would do early in his career is create that chaos to level change. He has a really good single leg, and he has good back takes, good his rear naked choke is alright. He has okay submission game. I feel like he's more of a control guy on the ground and grounded pound guy on the ground, but he does have a few submission victories. And, I feel like in this fight, it's going to come down to McKinney's fight IQ, how he lets the gas go. Because if he goes crazy the first round, gets tired, Ziam lasts, and has better cardio down the stretch, he could beat him. Or if McKinney just goes out there wild and striking, because Ziam's a very technical striker, could catch him and knock him out. And McKinney has to go back to the grappling here, in my opinion. He has to take down Ziam and show Ziam, you're a kickboxer, I'm a wrestler, and I'm going to do what I want you on the ground, and either find that ground and pound or submission finish. Ziam, he has been finished by submission 2 times as a pro, so that's something that you have to look at. And the submission was a rear naked choke, which Terrance McKinney does a good job of getting to that back position, so that is going to be available to him. So I feel like that's what he's going to be looking for. Get that submission in this fight or a ground and pound finish. Obviously, if he gets another quick knockout, that's going to be great for his highlight reel, and it is a possibility, but don't think that's the highest likelihood or path for Terrance McKinney to win. I think McKinney should grapple here and win that way. For Ziam, he's 2-1 in the UFC. He lost to Don Madge. Then he beat Jamie Malarkey, beat Luigi Vedramini. And he's a lot more inherited than McKinney, but he's 24 years old himself, and he's going to be looking to steal some hype here. And, Ziam, when you look at him, he's a very technical kickboxer. He's long, he's rangy, sticks and moves, and, more of a point fighter. But, he has some dangerous attacks, flying knees, things like that. And he could land and knock out McKinney for sure, especially if he just lands clean on the chin. Ziam, he has been match made well in the UFC. I mean, outside of Jamie Malarkey, who, obviously is not like from the United States where you have a great wrestling background. He's from Australia, and, I don't think he's the highest level wrestler. He's able to take down Ziam fairly easily, control him on the ground. Don Madge was able to control Ziam in the grappling. He's a kickboxer. And then Luigi Vedramini, more of a striker, even though he has the black belt, couldn't really get the fight to the mat. So McKinney, I think, will be able to get the takedowns if he goes for him, and probably will be able to control on the ground, dominate, and get the finish. So I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney, but this is one of these fights that I feel like it's going to come down to Terrance McKinney's fight IQ, and it could go either way, because you look at Terrance McKinney, I mean, I actually like his personality. I think that, social media presence is good and everything like that, but, he's very confident, very high on himself, and very high on his striking, things like that. So if he goes in there and thinks he's a striker and gets caught, that could be a possibility. But I think McKinney will go in there and get the job done. So I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney. With this next fight, we got another women's fight with Loma Lookboonmee taking on Lupita Godinez. And this is a good fight, man. I mean, Loma Lookboonmee, she's one of my more favorite female fighters to watch right now for sure. I mean, just her style is really fun. I mean, she's the first female or male fighter in the UFC from Thailand. Pure Muay Thai style, and you don't really see a lot of girls in the UFC with that level of striking acumen or just the calmness that Loma has. Loma has fought since she was a young girl, and she goes in there very calm. There's very little wasted movement in what she does. She's not going to get over aggressive. She's not going to, kind of make a mistake and lose the fight that way. She's always going to fight very composed. And she just throws girls around and beats them up in the clinch. So I just like what she brings to the octagon. But she's going to be taking on Lupita Godinez, which is a girl that's getting paid right now. I mean, it's the 3rd time she's fighting in a month. And she fought 2 times in, 1 week, where she got the very quick finish win against Silvana Juarez. And then she came back, fought Luana Carolina up a weight class. Close fight, but unfortunately she lost via decision in that one. Now she's coming back again really quickly. She's replacing Mallory Martin, and she's fighting Loma Lookboonmee here. And it's a good style clash. I mean, Lookboonmee, she has really good distance control, really good kicks. She'll work the legs with kicks. She'll stab the body. She's good at landing her counter straight, right or left hand. She switches stances pretty effectively, closes the gap quickly. And she has really good feint. She's good at pushing fighters back with her striking, being the bully. And when she gets girls to the cage, she's really tremendous in the clinch. She has brutal knees, brutal elbows, good trips, good throws. And she isn't the best in top position, but she can mix it up, hit the takedown. She hit several takedowns against Sam Hughes. Her grappling looked better than ever in that fight. And she doesn't really have great jiu-jitsu. She did get submitted in a fight pre-UFC. And, she also is just very Muay Thai based. So she doesn't have the best head movement. She has a good gauge of distance, so she can pull counter, land some nice shots. But fighters that can get on the inside, force her to box, she is hittable. Combinations are going to be effective against Loma, because she usually is looking to counter with one strike. So if you cut forward with, 3-4, she can get out volumed. And against Angela Hill, it seemed like she struggled a little bit with the reach and the speed. But she has improved her defense, takedown-wise or grappling or striking defense. But she really hasn't faced a girl that's a wrestler yet in her MMA career. I mean, Jinh Frey, Sam Hughes, even Angela Hill, who had some success taking her down. Albu, I mean, none of those girls are great wrestlers. Against Lupita Godinez, I expect a heavier dose of grappling. We're going to see how Loma handles that. She can be backed up how it gets the cage. And you may have to walk through a couple counters, but it isn't as if Lookboonmee has wild knockout power. So when you get there, when you get hit by her, you could kind of walk through the shots and get in on the legs. You don't want to try to get takedowns in the clinch with Loma because she could just beat you up in that position. She's so good. But you shoot in on the legs, I feel like you can take her down. And Jinh Frey was able to pass the guard to Lookboonmee pretty easily when she got her down. And Loma was able to explode and get back up, but she did expose her back. And I feel like a better grappler could have taken advantage of that. Sam Hughes, I mean, she was going for a lot of takedowns in the clinch, and Lookboonmee was just able to dominate. And she's at her best when she's on the outside working her kicks or in the clinch. She doesn't want to be in boxing exchanges or on her back. So that's kind of what Lookboonmee does. And her cardio is on point. She has a ton of experience. And, for Lupita Godinez, she's a pressure boxer. She has power in her hands. She has good wrestling. And that style on paper is a difficult one for Loma. She's going to be looking to close that distance, pressure forward. She throws big hooks, big uppercuts on the inside. And, she does a good job of level changing when she gets to the cage. She has good clinch work. And in this fight, I would try to avoid the clinch. Pressure, use her punches, set up the level changes to get the fight to the ground with a single or double leg. And if she can get top position, I think she's going to have a huge advantage. She could find the submission. She can't stay at space and let Loma kick her because she doesn't really have anything at distance for Loma. She just stay really tight, keep the double underhooks if she is in the clinch, and try to, just not let Loma get space to throw her knees or her elbows. And, as I said previously, I mean, stylistically it's a good matchup because Godinez or pressure or boxing should give Loma issues even in the striking. She needs to throw a combination. She needs to try to be very aggressive. And if she can get the takedowns out, like I said, I think she's going to have a big advantage. I am worried about if Godinez has been training as hard as usual because of her last fight, which wasn't a walk in the park only a month ago, and having to fight 1 week before that. If she does get tired, Loma's going to eat her up at range. But Godinez has always shown great cardio. And I think she should be able to get the win here. I think she could even get the submission. I think that Godinez being the favorite here at minus 170 now, I see. I mean, there is a lot of money pouring in on her. If it starts to get too wild, I think Loma is a decent underdog because we did see Lupita get a little bit exposed to the clinch against Jessica Panay, but that was a different style of clinch. As a judo player, trying to take her back, take her down, things like that. So I feel like Lupita's going to come in here with a good game plan. She's going to be able to pressure, hit the takedowns, and win on top, even get the submission potentially. But I like Lupita. Like I said, I think she's a fun fighter to watch. She has a lot of skills. She's young, so she could come in here and surprise me. But I think Lupita Godinez will do enough to get the win here. With this next fight, this is a great matchup here with Natan Levy taking on Rafa Garcia. And after a couple setbacks, Natan Levy is finally getting into the cage. He's debuting in the UFC. He earned his contract almost a year ago. He won on the Contender Series. He turned some heads because he moved up a weight class and an extra 5 pounds. Took a 160-pound catch weight when he was previously scheduled to fight at 145. He finished Sheehy Santana in the third round of that fight. And he's had some injuries that precluded him from fighting since then. He was supposed to fight Austin Hubbard. That fight never happened, but better late than never. He debuts on Saturday night, and he's taking a big step up here against Rafa Garcia. Prior to the fight on the Contender Series, he was, he did face a 6-0 opponent on the Contender Series, but before that, the best fighter he ever fought was 5-3, and that was the most experienced fighter that he ever fought until that point. The thing about Lugo is he did have a lot of amateur experience as well. He had experience in kickboxing and boxing, so he actually did have a lot of fight experience. But Garcia has 4 more fights than Lugo and 7 more wins in MMA, so he's a much better MMA fighter. And Natan Levy on the feet, he is a karate fighter. He's tall, he's long, he's going to be faster, and he has better movement. He switches stances, he closes the gap pretty quickly. But he really just uses big kicks, side kicks, spin kicks. or straight shot blitzes, some big hooks to back fighters up to the cage and look for the takedown. In terms of boxing, he could really struggle in that area. He doesn't move his head too well. He's very hittable. And against Ben Lugo, he was hurt a couple of times with punches. Some people will look at Lugo's record and really give Levy a hard time for that. But at the time, like I said, Lugo had 24 fights, including his amateur fights, and Levy was just 4-0. So that's a big difference in experience. And Levy's much more of a grappler. He has no career knockouts. Never been finished by strikes. Obviously, he's undefeated. And he's a good grappler. Like I said, if he wins this fight, that's where I believe he's going to win it. He is very strong. He's athletic. He has good level changes. His wrestling is good. He's very physical. He's going to be the bigger fighter in this matchup, I believe. And he has good level changes. He has good takedowns against the cage. When he gets on top, he has good control, good ground and pound. His submission game is solid. In my opinion, he has better jiu-jitsu than Garcia. And I think that even if Garcia gets on top of Natan will be able to sweep, get on top himself, and control where the grappling is. Being his UFC debut against a higher level fighter, I think he's going to be a little bit more locked in. Like in the past, I have seen him get swept or get put in some submissions. He did get his back taken against Shea and Santana. But I think he's going to be a little bit more locked in, a little bit more tight with his defense, and be able to control the positioning better. And he was able to scrub on top position after he got his back taken. He can grapple hard. He has really good cardio. And for Rafa Garcia, he entered the UFC 12-0. He had a lot of hype behind him. He was managed by Cub Swanson. But his first fight against Nasrat Haqparast, he lost. It was short notice. It was against a pretty experienced guy. You can give him a pass for that. But recently, he was a big favorite. He lost to Chris Gutzmacher. That was a bad loss for him. He started well, and then he gassed out. He hasn't won a fight since he defeated Humberto Banane at this point in February of 2020, so it's been almost 2 years since he's won a fight. He took a year off before debuting in the UFC, and he has a pressure style on the feet. He wants to get his opponent's faces and work his boxing. Good job using his 1-2 or his 1-1-2 to close that gap. And he has fast counter right hand. You'll walk his way into the pocket when fighters land on him. He likes to immediately return with a straight or counter or overhand right. In his last fight, he landed a nice check left hook that dropped Chris Gutzmacher early. He was very accurate with his left hook early, but he kept going back to the well with it, which kind of was bad for him as the fight went on. He will throw the left hook to the body, to the straight right. And he has no issue brawling. He has some pop in his punches, even though he doesn't have big power. He is durable. And he was mixing in some leg kicks in his last fight. He'll throw some front kicks up the middle. He's not really the most active kicker, though. He is significantly better when he can go forward. He has the takedown threat, so it opens up his hands, and he's willing to take damage to get inside. High guard. Very limited head movement, though. Fighters can tag him as he tries to enter. And his body is readily available to get hit. Fighters who could, pressure, throw combinations, give Garcia a lot of issues. He doesn't do very well off the back foot. Kicks are effective against Garcia. And I've seen fighters be able to catch him with elbows as well as he enters range. And, Garcia's tough. He's durable. He will try to stay in your face and break you. He tries to push the pace. And he has solid wrestling. He's strong. He's physical for the division, which helps. And good job pressure his way into range. He has good boxing. He has pretty good level changes. You'll hit that single, hit that double, big slam takedowns. And on top, he's really not very good. His top control, his jiu-jitsu definitely need to improve. His fight with Eric Gonzalez, he got swept multiple times. Couldn't control Humberto Banane on the mat. Couldn't control Chris Gutzmacher on the mat. And, Garcia has good cardio, but he can gas out when fighters pressure him and they don't let him dictate the fight. He likes to get the takedown and have periods of rest on the feet or on the ground. And if you could stop him from doing that, he can get tired. Like his last fight with Chris Gutzmacher against a pressure fighter, he really gassed out. But this fight's really good matchmaking, in my opinion, because we got a boxer wrestler with the pressure style, good boxing. And Garcia's going to be better on the feet. He really doesn't throw first or in combination a lot. He likes to wait to counter with that one straight or big hook overhand right. And he doesn't really have a ton of power. He only has one knockout in his career. He's relied on his wrestling to win the majority of his fights. Natan Levy is going to be the better grappler, the better wrestler, but he struggled with that boxing style. And he's going to be trying to move and then time the takedowns on the entries of Garcia. And Levy's going to be, able to close the gap faster. He has the faster feet, and that could be an effective style for him. I think Levy is going to be able to hit the takedowns, or even if Garcia gets a takedown, I think he'll be able to sweep, get on top. And this is going to be the best fighter that Levy has ever faced, but I'm going to roll with him here in this particular matchup. I think it's two grapplers. He's the better grappler. On the feet, Garcia has a distinct advantage in the boxing, but he's pretty one-dimensional. Levy can land some kicks on him. I think when they clinch up, he's going to be a little bit stronger potentially, and I think that he could get the decision win here, so I'm going to go with Natan Levy. And this is another really good fight here with Tucker Lutz taking on Pat Sabatini. And so far, so good for Pat Sabatini in the UFC. He's 2-0, and he's not been given easy opponents either. He fought Tristan Connolly, he fought Jamal Emmers. And if he can defeat Tucker Lutz, he's going to be close to the rankings. Tucker Lutz, he looked exceptional in his UFC debut. He dominated Kevin Aguilar. He also won twice in the Contender Series. And he was expecting to fight Lando Venata last week. So he's been getting ready for that fight, staying in shape. But Pat Sabatini is a way different matchup. And, Lutz beat Chase Gibson. He beat Sherrod Blackledge on the Contender Series. And then he defeated Kevin Aguilar. So he's done well in UFC level competition. He's a very sturdy, durable fighter. He's a bit stiff. He's a little bit hittable. But he has bricks for hands. He has big power in his kicks. He switches stances. Good boxing. He has a good check hook. He'll throw some good 1-2s, 3-2s, power leg kicks, body kicks, fast hands, good counters. Good job sticking in the pocket and landing counters as fighters land on him. I didn't get hit with big shots, but he's very durable. He walks through it. He stays in fighters' faces and breaks them. He has great cardio. He's a good grappler. He's a strong wrestler. He isn't super active with his wrestling in this fight. I think he's going to try to use the wrestling in reverse. But he has a good double leg when he gets to it. And he has good chain wrestling. He showed that in his fight with Sherrod Blackledge that he can grind out and scramble with a good grappler. He did get swept and didn't look the greatest on his back in the third round against Chase Gibson. But he was able to use some well-timed takedowns to defeat Kevin Aguilar. And I think in this fight where he's facing a fighter with really good jiu-jitsu skills, he's going to be, like I said, be on in terms of denying the takedowns, keeping it on the feet, and not really inviting that wrestling. Pat Sabatini's a former college wrestler as well. He's a really good grappler in his own right, has a lot of accolades, really solid wrestling. But I actually feel like Lutz is a little bit better in terms of just pure wrestling. I think he's going to struggle Pat Sabatini to get takedowns. Pat Sabatini is a guy that switch stance fighter. On the feet, he kind of has a awkward style where he moves around a lot, tries to get guys to overextend, throws big punches, and runs around a lot and then tries to, get fighters to come forward. He'll throw these big punches, he'll land a few, and then when fighters kind of expect him to throw, then he'll close the distance and level change, get the takedown. And he's dogged with his takedown attempts. He'll go for him over and over, very relentless, great cardio. Creates a lot of scrambles. He has no problem being on his back because he can use his leg attacks or use a different type of sweep to get on top and finish the fight. He was able to get a finish on the ground with a heel hook in his last fight against Jamal Emmers. But that fight, it showed his deficiencies as well because it showed on the feet he's a little bit hittable, kind of wild, and Jamal Emmers was piecing him up. He actually dropped Pat Sabatini before Sabatini and him kind of went into a leg lock war, 50-50, and Sabatini came out on the right end. But with this matchup, he's facing a fellow grappler, a guy that's a strong, sturdy wrestler, and a pressure fighter that wants to get in your face and throws good combinations, good boxing. I think that he's going to be a little bit too much for Pat Sabatini, Tucker Lutz. I think that Sabatini's going to struggle with the wrestling. I don't think he's going to be able to invite Tucker Lutz into his guard. I think Tucker Lutz is too smart for that. He's going to keep it standing, not play that game with him. If he does and it goes to the ground, I will be a little bit weary. Don't really know how good Tucker Lutz jiu-jitsu level is or how he's going to do against a guy that's a wizard on the mat like Sabatini. But on the feet, I like him. I think he's the better wrestling as well. He has good cardio, so I think he can match that pace and kind of pressure that Sabatini puts on. And I'm going to go with Tucker Lutz here. And we got the all-violence fight on the card here with Adrian, Yanez, and Davey Grant. Both these guys are super fun to watch so far in their careers. Davey Grant, ever since he came back from that layoff after he fought Manny Bermudez, he's just been giving us banger after banger. He goes out there, doesn't give a fuck. He just fights dangerous, like his nickname says. Comes forward, throws bombs, switch stances, kind of awkward striking with big power. And, he can grapple a little bit too, and he's willing to take it. He has good durability. So comes forward. He's been dropped before, recovered, got back up to his feet, keeps the pressure, keeps that very aggressive style, and eventually he either knocks you out or he loses the fight. I mean, his last fight against Chito Vera, he was doing pretty well on the feet, but Vera was able to kind of control the grappling, beat him up really bad on the ground, and landed some nice shots on the feet of his own. And, Adrian Yanez, he's a guy that started his UFC career really, really well. He's got 3 knockouts in a row and kind of created a lot of buzz for himself. A lot of people see him as one of the better boxers in the UFC, really good counters, really good jab, good on the front foot. If you back him up, like his last fight, Randy Costa was pressured him. He was using the jab. He was staying long. And he had a lot of success. But the thing about Randy Costa is he was being technical. He was using speed. He was staying on the outside. He had the reach advantage. With Davey Grant, he's not a guy like that. Davey Grant puts the pedal to the metal and is very, very aggressive, but very, very, he doesn't really respect his opponent. He walks into shots. His defense isn't good. He's not going to be technical with his pressure. And Yanez may struggle a little bit early just with the sheer aggressiveness and wildness of Grant. But once he gets his rage, and he's really good at making adjustments. He has really, really excellent timing on his counter punching. I think he's going to catch Davey Grant at one point and put his lights out. I mean, Davey Grant's proven to be very durable, but Adrian Yanez, I think, is going to crack that code, crack that button, and take him out. Davey Grant is an okay grappler. That could be a path to victory for him if he uses the takedowns. But Adrian Yanez is a black belt, and he's only lost to guys that are high-level wrestlers. I don't really see Davey Grant being able to take him down too effectively. Yanez's, footwork is too good. His defensive boxing is too good. He could catch him as he comes in. And I just think Davey Grant is a little bit overmatched here on the feet. He's getting a little bit older, almost 36 years old. He took a ton of damage in his last fight, kind of stopped his win streak, and I think that this one could be the fight where he gets knocked out, kind of hammer in the coffin, and not like he's going to retire, but just big loss for him. So I think Adrian Yanez will get the job done and get the knockout. And in this next fight, we got another women's fight with Joanne Wood. She's going to be taking on Taila Santos. And if you're a little bit kind of confused about that Joanne Calderwood, or Joanne Wood now just recently got married to John Wood, the head coach at Syndicate MMA, so that's the reason for the name change there. So she's fighting her first fight, as a married woman. This is actually only a couple weeks ago that they got married, so it's very, very recent. And obviously Joanne Wood, since they created this division 125, she's been near the top of the division the whole time. She's been very competitive with the top girls. Her last fight with Lauren Murphy, split decision that a lot of people felt like Joanne should have got the victory in that fight. So she could have been fighting for the title potentially. She had the other fight against Jennifer Maia, which was another title eliminator that she came short in that fight. And a lot of those girls that, I just was talking about, they've been in the UFC for a while now. They kind of been around that top of the division. And Taila Santos, she's joined the division only recently. She's done really well in the UFC so far. She's gone 3-1, won 3 in a row, and obviously her record is excellent in 18-1. The one loss to Mara Borella was her UFC debut, and I feel like she kind of had the UFC jitters, came out flat, lost a split decision in that one. But this fight, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be her, I guess, another step up. I feel like Roxanne Modafferi and Joanne are similar level, but it's a higher girl in the rankings at least, and it's a good fight for both girls. I feel like Joanne Wood, at range, she's going to be better. I mean, she has more weapons with the kicks. She is a little bit better in terms of her combinations. Santos, she has good leg kicks, good boxing, but she doesn't really have a lot of head movement. She's hittable herself. Both girls are hittable. They both don't really have the best defense, but they throw a lot of offense, a lot of volume. So this is one of these fights where could be a ton of volume on the feet, and they're both landing clean, and it's kind of hard to score. But the difference in the fight, and the difference in all these fights recently with Taila Santos, is her grappling, man. I mean, the chick is one of the strongest girls in the division. She gets that body lock. She just rips you to the ground. When she gets on top, she's a crushing top game. Super good ground and pound. She keeps the position, and she doesn't let you get back up. She just dominated Roxanne Modafferi in the grappling, man. You don't see girls dominate Roxy like that, and she was able to do it over 3 rounds. Usually with Roxanne, she can kind of get back in the fight in the 3rd round. If she's losing a little bit, She did that against Viviane Araújo, things like that. But Santos just rode her out all 3 rounds, completely dominated the positions, and was able to just give her fits on the ground, just controlled her. With Joanne Calderwood, I feel like, you know, in the clinch, she's going to be having to really let go with her weapons right when they engage. Like, right when Taila gets in that clinch, she has to let go with the elbow, with the knee, disengage, or try to be very aggressive in the denying of the takedowns and denying of the clinch. Because if Taila could slow the fight down, get on top, get on the ground, I mean, she could go to work. And Joanne Calderwood has been submitted in quite a few of her losses, so that is something that's a little bit of a concern. She could potentially get submitted in this fight. Santos isn't really a big submission threat. She's more of a grinder, but I just think this is a good matchup for her on paper. I think that she's just the stronger girl physically, superior in the grappling, and she's just going to be able to dominate that area. I mean, Joanne Calderwood's a former strawweight. She's someone that's always struggled a little bit with heavy wrestlers, and I think that Santos is just a bad matchup here.
Then we got Kang taking on Yahya, and Mr. Perfect Kang, he's going to be making his comeback. He's been gone for 2 years. After he fought Li Pingwan, he broke his orbital, he hurt his back, and it just kept him out of commission. So now I guess he's back. He's ready to jump in the deep end of the pool. And he's taking on a veteran specialist in Yahya, but King, he's 33 years old, so I'm sure he didn't want to get an easy fight. I'm sure he didn't want to get a warm-up fight. He wants to get this win over Hani, and, if you're going to win over Yahya, you're probably going to fight a top 15 guy, so that's what he wants to do. And King, obviously is the better striker, but Yahya, he showed off his lethal jiu-jitsu again in March. He defeated Ray Rodriguez by arm triangle. Yahya's last 4 wins are all submission victories. And he obviously is one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the sport. Even at 36 years old, he's hard to beat. Since 2014, he's 7-2-1 in the UFC. And both of these guys, I mean, if you look at, Kyung and Yahya's fights in the UFC, they've been kind of, they've been fighting the bottom of the barrel type of competition. They haven't really been in there against high-level fighters. But I think that, they're both pretty good fighters. Kyung on the feet, he's very technical. He really just likes to look for the 1-2s, and he has pretty good front kicks, round kicks to the body. He will also throw some pretty hard low kicks. So, that's what King kind of tries to do on the feet. He's more low volume, though. He doesn't really let off a lot. He actually, is very low volume, like 2 strikes a minute. And that's what leads to him being in so many close fights. I believe every single decision that he's won in the UFC has been split decisions. I think he's only 4-5 in decisions in his career. So, he's not really someone that pushes the action and makes it very evident to the judges that he's winning the fight. And he also can get backed up, shell up instead of moving. And he's been dropped in quite a few fights in the UFC. But he has good recoverability. He's only been knocked out once. And he will, eat shots, take the damage, then come back later on. His cardio is not the best. And he is primarily a grappler. So, I mean, that is interesting for this fight because he has really good timing on his body locks. He'll circle to the back of rear naked chokes, good double leg. He's a very good wrestler, and he has good top control. He just likes to get in dominant positions, work elbows, and he doesn't really have great submission game, but he's big, he's strong for the division. He can hold you down, and he has good scrambling ability. Even if you put him on his back, he is able to sweep, get on top. He has 11 submission wins. He's calm. He has good submission defense. He's only been submitted 1 time. But this is a tough matchup in my opinion. And every single time Yahya fights, people overlook him because it's so ugly. He's getting older. He's getting up there in age. And I think people kind of try to find ways to think he's going to lose fights. But, it's a tough matchup for Kyung in my opinion because, Kang is a guy that likes to, have his space to strike. And when guys close the distance, he likes to grapple. And Yahya, he's a guy that doesn't really give you any space at all on the feet. He wants to close that gap, throw wild shots, all to try to get the takedown. He has a really good single. The single that he has is his go-to, and most guys aren't able to stop it. When he hits that single leg, he gets you to the ground. He puts you through, ton of submissions. If you could survive, then, sometimes he gets tired, and then you could beat him, down the stretch, and that's how he's lost a lot of his fights. He doesn't really get finished. He's super durable. You can't finish him on the ground, obviously. And, he's just been in there for so long. He's such a veteran. He knows how to survive. But his cardio has always been a big question mark. He slows down significantly in certain fights. But Kyung Kang, like I said, isn't really someone that pushes the pace. So Kang is, in my opinion, in this fight going to have to be able to scramble with Yahya, survive the early submission game, and then scramble, get on top, and win that way. That's how most guys have been able to beat Yahya. It hasn't been like Ricky Simone, he's a wrestler, was able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, outstrike him. But besides that, I mean, Joe Soto, he actually was getting outstruck by Yahya, had to, win with the grappling. He kind of tired Yahya out, was able to scramble with him, get on top, control him. And outside of that, I mean, those are his only 2 losses since 2013. So it's been quite a long time since, he's lost. And I'm going to go with Yahya in this one. And it's not a confident pick. I don't really have a great read on this fight personally. But I feel like, the line should maybe be flipped because Yahya has been the more active guy. He's been fighting recently. Kang hasn't gotten a win since 2019. And both these guys are a little bit older. Kang's almost 34 years old. He hasn't fought any really good competition at all. He hasn't proved himself. I feel like his takedown defense, it's good on paper. Like, he has good stats with his takedown defense. But if you go and watch him defending takedowns, I don't really think it's, that high-level takedown defense. And I feel like he also, has fought a lot of strikers. He hasn't fought any grapplers to really show that. I think Yahya is going to show that. I do feel like it's going to be tough to submit Kang, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant to pick Yahya. But I feel like Kang is going to push that high of a pace, so Yahya is going to be able to get the takedown the first round, put him through a submission gauntlet. Maybe he won't get the submission, but he wins that round. In the second round, gets the takedown controls, and then kind of has to survive in that third, similar to the Barzola fight, but maybe Kang doesn't put it on him as much. I'm going to go with Yahya on this one, but like I said, I mean, I wouldn't bet on this fight. I think it's kind of like 50-50. Who knows? Kang coming back from multiple injuries. He's older. He hasn't fought anyone like Yahya, so it's not like you can pinpoint, a certain fighter and say, oh, he fought this guy, and that's how he's going to perform against Yahya. And, Kang has had tough fights with grapplers like Michinori Tanaka, where he's been taken down and had to scramble, get on top to win that one. He lost to Chico Camus. So I feel like Yahya has a path to victory in this one. He's been more active. He trains at a good gym, American Top Team. He's, been ready to go. He's been wanting to fight these higher level guys, and he needs to pick up this win to get it done. But I'm going to pick Yahya here.
Now we got the co-main event here. This is a hell of a fight. This is probably my favorite fight on the card, with Chiesa taking on Sean Brady. Sean Brady, it's going to be his second appearance of 2021. He's looking to move his record to 5-0 in the UFC, 14-0 overall. He's one of the most hyped prospects at 170 pounds. And he was linked to a fight earlier this year with Kevin Lee. They scheduled it a couple times, but Kevin Lee pulled out with an injury. Brady pulled out with an injury, and then Lee got rebooked. He fought Daniel Rodriguez. Now Brady's obviously going to fight Chiesa. And the good thing for Brady is matchup-wise, he's facing another fighter who's heavy on the wrestling and grappling side of things. It is going to be a massive step up from the Jake Matthews, the Christian Aguileras, the Ishmael Nardievs. But he's probably ready for it. I feel like he's been wanting this level of fighter. He's a tough fighter. He, on the feet is technical. He has good counter-striking style. He has good footwork. He's very explosive. He likes to circle around until he can explode in with a big 3-2, 2-3. The best punch is probably his left hook. He throws it very tight. He has good accuracy, power with it. And in the pocket with fighters, they better have their hands in good position after Brady lays that right hand, because the left hook is usually coming right behind it. In this fight against a southpaw, he's going to be looking for that left hook off the jab of Chiesa. She tries to attack the body to open up that strike. And I rarely see Sean Brady use body punches, but I really do think it could be an effective tactic in this fight. Brady does give up the center in a lot of his fights. He lets guys push him back. He uses his speed when fighters get into rage to cross the distance with his combinations, get out of range, and then kind of just basically pot shots until he can time the takedown. He is dangerous in those exchanges with his punches. And he can get touched with the jab, though. He can get hit with kicks. He isn't the best off the back foot. Ishmael Nardiev in the first round really kind of beat up Sean Brady. Brady's not really a big kicker. He will throw some leg kicks, some body kicks, but against a southpaw Chiesa, I don't really see him being too effective with his kicking game. The way Brady moves and explodes in does help him set up his takedowns, but he really isn't the best or most dangerous striker. Even his last fight with Jake Matthews, he was getting outstruck a little bit in that one. Fighters can back him to the fence, and I feel like once he faces a really good striker with good takedown defense, he could be in trouble. But he's an elite grappler. He's super strong in the division. He's a black belt under Daniel Gracie. He likes to move around and explode with his punches, like I said. Then when fighters anticipate the strikes, he level changes, hits the double. Good at shooting in on the legs, coming into the clinch, and pushing guys to the cage as well. Strong in that position. Brady can usually find the takedown either with the double or against the cage. On top, he's smooth. He has good control, good positioning, great squeeze. He's good at getting in that wrestling right position. He'll control guys from there, stay connected, mat return them. He has a really good one-armed guillotine. He was able to get that against Christian Aguilera. He submitted Jake Matthews with an arm triangle in the 3rd round. And he comes in good shape, but I will say in his fight with Court McGee, it did seem like he slowed down in the 3rd round. Against Chiesa, if you start to slow down and Chiesa gets on top of you, you are going to have some issues potentially. So for Michael Chiesa, he was on the brink of a title shot once again. He came up short against Vicente Luque earlier this year. That has now happened to Chiesa twice. He did that at 155 pounds as well against Kevin Lee, where he defeated Jim Miller, Beneil Dariush back-to-back via submission. Was close to getting the title shot, but Kevin Lee submitted him in the 1st round. A little bit of controversy with that fight. But against Vicente Luque in the same situation, 4-0, coming in off big wins over RDA and Neil Magny. Luque submitted Chiesa in the 1st round. So now Chiesa is going from possibly being one fighter from the title shot to taking an extremely dangerous fight against Sean Brady. Even though Chiesa is the veteran name, higher ranked fighter, Sean Brady's the favorite. And the loss of Sean Brady for Chiesa would be devastating. I mean, he's ranked 6th right now. Brady is 14th. A loss would dump him back towards the lower half of the rankings. But Chiesa's looked really good since moving up to 170 pounds. I mean, he even had Luque's back early in the fight. He landed a nice 1-2 that cut Luque open early. And he's not the greatest striker, but in my opinion, his striking is underrated. He's southpaw. He's tall. He's rangy. He's going to have the height and reach advantage in this fight. He's not technical. I mean, he looks for the 1-2s as he closes the gap. His straight left hand does have some power. He's dropped some guys with it. He's landed clean on other guys. He'll land front round kicks and throws a lot of kicks out there because he has no fear of being taken down. He doesn't take leg kicks well. He struggled with calf kicks against RDA. But RDA is a southpaw, and I don't think Sean Brady's going to be effective with his leg kicks against a southpaw opponent, being orthodox. And Chiesa pressures really awkwardly. Sometimes, fighters are able to counter him and hurt him as he comes inside. And Sean Brady has to take a stand, plant his feet, and try to counter Chiesa as he comes in. He can't be so worried about the level change that he backs up to the cage and lets Chiesa get in that clinch. Because even though Sean Brady is an excellent grappler, Michael Chiesa is one of the best wrestler-grappler combinations in the UFC. He's relentless. He has really good takedowns. He could take down guys off the front foot or the back foot. He does a good job circling, staying long, and then shooting in when fighters load up or overextend. He'll try to catch you with some straight shots and then move, get you a little bit angry, and then, take you down. And he's improved his footwork a lot. He's also willing to go forward, take shots, back you to the cage, and take you down that way. Sean Brady does have a tendency to back up to the cage, and, Chiesa will take advantage of that if he does allow him to, or if Brady backs up to the cage, allows Chiesa to clutch up with him there. Chiesa on top is an elite back taker. He's a rear naked choke artist. He has 5 rear naked chokes in the UFC, 3rd most all time. Really good at floating on top. He's like a wet blanket with his length and, just so hard to get up from under. His top pressure is elite. He's been able to dominate very good fighters on the mat. And he's fought a way higher level of competition. He's fought way better fighters than Sean Brady. And this fight, I feel like the line should be flipped. I think that Chiesa should be the -150 favorite. Brady should be +130, trying to prove himself in this situation, because it isn't as if you're getting Chiesa to fight like a high-level kickboxer with good jiu-jitsu off of his back or something like that. I feel like this style of Sean Brady, a guy that is a mover, that has pretty good boxing, but is more of a wrestler himself, doesn't really have the most overwhelming striking, is a pretty good matchup for Chiesa. When you look at his losses, he did have the loss of Joe Lozon due to the cut. You can kind of throw that one out a little bit. But Anthony Pettis, Luque, George Masvidal, all 3 of those guys kind of have that style where they're really slick on the feet, and then they have good submission game off their back or in the scrambles. And, you saw Luque catch that Darce in a scramble. We saw George Masvidal catch a Darce in a scramble, and we saw the other opponent submit him just flat out. Pettis with a triangle armbar, I believe. So, but that style, I mean, Brady, I haven't seen him on his back. I don't necessarily feel like he's going to have the best guard or throw up submissions there because he's just an overwhelming top player. And for him to out-grapple a guy like Chiesa, I don't really know if he could do that. I mean, Kevin Lee was able to do it, but Kevin Lee is, even though he's not the best fighter, he's one of the best wrestlers in the UFC. He was huge at 155 pounds. And Chiesa was really killing himself to make that weight. Now he looks much bigger. He looks much harder to grind on. And Chiesa was able to take out like guys that are good grapplers, man. Neo Magny, he beat RDA easily on the ground, dominated him. And I think he's going to be able to kind of give that veteran lesson to Sean Brady. I think he's going to back him up, get in a clinch, get the back, control him a little bit. Even on the feet, I think that it's going to be a little bit of a low volume type of fight. But I think Chiesa is going to have some moments as well with the stand-up. I think Chiesa's striking is a little bit underrated. I think he's going to land some strikes to set up the takedown, some flashy, punches. And I got to go with Chiesa here. I think he's going to use that veteran savvy and pick up the win. And then finally we got the main event here. We got Ketlen Vieira. She's going to be taking on Miesha Tate. And Miesha Tate, she's back for the second time this year. This time it's going to be in a main event. She had to prove herself a bit for sure. She took 5 years away from the cage. She came in and she dominated Marion Renault. She finished her in the third round. She reannounced herself as a player in the division. Obviously, being a former champion, having some big name value. Her path to the title is not as long as other girls, so she could defeat Ketlen Vieira. I feel like she's right there, maybe one match away from the title fight again. This was supposed to go down around a month ago, but Tate got COVID, so that's something you have to think about a bit. Hopefully she looks good enough, or she felt good enough to have a good training camp for 5 rounds, and she looks in phenomenal shape once again, even better shape than she was in her title fight or her title years, and she didn't slow down one bit. She got to finish in the third round against her last opponent, Marion Renault. Her striking is significantly better. I mean, she has much better movement, distance control. It seems like she's way more fluid. She, moves her head a lot more. She is just a lot better in the way that she controls distance and, knows how to gauge distance. She chooses better punches, and she's just a lot better defensively. So I feel like her speed has improved as well, even though her age has gotten up, which is something you don't really see. And her striking has gotten a lot better, significantly better in my opinion. Even before she kind of left the UFC scene, when she was fighting the Raquel Penningtons and things like that, her striking was already improved. But I feel like it even went up a notch during her 5-year layoff. And it's a little bit hard to gauge that fight because she was fighting a girl in Marion Renault who had her retirement fight, who was 44 years old, and who notoriously always had bad takedown defense, and Miesha Tate was able to, kind of strike a little bit, but mostly use her wrestling, get on top, dominate, and eventually got that ground and pound finish. With Ketlen Vieira, it's going to be a little bit of a different style. Ketlen Vieira, she is making a return. She's in a big spot here. It's been 9 months since she last fought. She had a strange fight her last time out with Yana Kunitskaya, where she had really dominant positions. She took the back. She controlled the fight for like 4 minutes and 40 seconds on top, but threw 0 punches, didn't look for a submission. Kunitskaya was throwing shots from the bottom. At the end of the round, she got on top, landed a couple elbows, and that got her the round and got her the decision win. And Vieira's stock didn't really drop, obviously, it seems, because they're putting her in a main event against Miesha Tate. But obviously, she's the B-side, and a win here would be huge for Vieira, though. She hasn't really been successful since returning to the UFC after an ACL injury. She was 5-0 previous to that. She's pretty close to a title shot, but she took a 1.5 years off after that ACL injury. She came back. She got knocked out by Irene Aldana. She did rebound. She got a win over Sijara Eubanks, but then she lost again to Kunitskaya in her last fight. And she's one of the biggest fighters in the division. She did miss weight against Kunitskaya. She's a grappler on the feet. She's a pressure fighter. She has a long reach for the division. She has some power. Her best punch is probably her straight right hand. She'll look for the counter too. She's pretty effective with that. And she wants to get girls in the pocket trade. She's powerful. She's durable. She's a brawler. And, she also uses those moments to go for the takedowns. Defensively, Vieira is really bad. She's plotty. She's slow. She doesn't move her head off center line. She loads up on her punches, leaves her chin right there to be hit. And that's how she got knocked out against Irene Aldana. Most girls don't have the knockout power to really exploit that, but they can piece her up, touch her up as he closes the distance, and land clean shots on her. Vieira is a black belt. She's a jiu-jitsu and judo black belt, and her grappling is how she wins the majority of her fights. She doesn't have the greatest takedowns, but she mauls fighters, presses them against the cage. She has that judo black belt she can rely on. She has decent level changes. Against Sijara Eubanks, she was able to get takedowns fairly easily, but Eubanks obviously is down now at 125 pounds. The size difference was pretty evident. When Vieira got the takedown on Eubanks, who's a good grappler herself, she did no damage. I mean, she allowed the ref to stand him back up. She really didn't let off much ground and pound. She does have 6 career finishes, Vieira, but 5 of them came in her first 5 fights against low-level competition on the Brazilian regional scene. She did submit Sarah McMahon after she got dominated in the first round, but that's something that we have seen happen with McMahon over and over. Vieira more likes to get on top, smother. Even in her fight with Yana Kunitskaya, she was able to get dominant positions, and she just was so minimum with her strikes. She only landed 7 significant strikes in the entire fight. 0 on the ground, and she had over 10 minutes of ground control. She landed 0 significant ground strikes. That's pretty crazy. And she can't be taken down herself. She got dominated in the first round against Sarah McMahon. She got taken down and controlled for almost an entire round against Yana Kunitskaya. And she is active off her back. She will look for submissions from her guard. She'll attack leg locks, but she's comfortable on bottom and will not work to stand up. Most girls don't come in with the game plan to take her down because she's that BJJ threat. But I wouldn't be surprised if Miesha tries to get it to the mat and go to work in the later rounds. One thing about Ketlen Vieira, she slows down in all of her fights. She cuts a lot of weight. She's very aggressive. And she's lost the third round on at least 2 of 3 judges' scorecards in every single UFC fight that she's been in decision in. This is the first time that she's going to 5 rounds in her career. And the thing about Miesha Tate, she's known for the complete opposite. She has 2 third-round finishes, or 3 third-round finishes, 1 fourth-round finish, 1 fifth-round finish. Obviously, that was the famous submission win over Holly Holm in the title fight. And she gets better as the fight goes on. She's a dog, man. She has great cardio. She pushes a high pace. She's willing to take damage to give damage. She's willing to take damage to tax you and then beat you late. And, Miesha's grappling has always been what's given fighters issues. I mean, her striking has improved, like I said, but she wants to get you to the mat, get on top of you, and go to work. She's really strong in that half guard position with her ground and pound. She'll kind of take the back and ground and pound you from there. She'll trap wrists and ground and pound you. And, she's very good with that. She has a decent arm triangle. She has an okay arm bar from mount. So she has an okay submission threat. She's got that rear naked choke against Holly Holm. And, the main thing that I think that in this fight is going to give Tate the edge is just the cardiovascular advantage and just the experience edge in these later rounds. The ability to kind of match the grappling of Vieira. Vieira may be able to take her down early, but I don't think Vieira is going to get any damage off. And I think once Miesha Tate gets on top, she's going to really go to work. And I also feel like on the feet, even though Vieira may be connecting with that straight right hand and she could do some work early, I think that once Miesha kind of gets in that grind that she wants to get in, and it's going to slow down the pace of Vieira pretty significantly. I don't think Vieira has the knockout power to hurt and knock out a girl like Miesha Tate. So I just feel like Miesha Tate's going to drown her in these later rounds, 3, 4, 5, get the finish. I don't think Vieira has the cardio to go all 5. If she does, I think Tate's going to beat her up pretty bad in that 4th, 5th round and, get the win. So I got Miesha Tate picking up another win in 2021, getting closer to the title shot, and taking out Ketlen Vieira. I think that matchup-wise, it's a good matchup because it's a girl on the feet that's slow, plotty, isn't a super threat even though she has some power. If you don't brawl with her, if you use your footwork, move around, time the takedown, get on top, she's shown she's a little weak on top. When Vieira gets on top, she doesn't really have a huge threat there in terms of ground and pound or submission. So Tate doesn't have to worry if she gets taken down. She can kind of just work back up to her feet and, not really be too fearful of getting finished. So I think that Miesha Tate could get this one done, and I think she can even get a finish in the later rounds. I'm not really feeling a parlay on this week's card, so I'm going to just give you guys a free play with Qileng Aori at plus 145. His line's actually rising, and I think he's going to get the job done. I'm pretty confident in him getting the win. For my most confident pick, it's going to be Taila Santos in this one. So thanks for watching, guys. Like I said at the top of the video, please, like, comment, subscribe. Let's try to get 150 likes minimum on this video. Let's try to get some comment engagement. I really appreciate that. And if you want to check out the Patreon for other content for this week and for weeks beyond, make sure to check that out as well. I really appreciate everything you guys do. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a video before Thanksgiving or not. If I'm not, wish all you guys really good Thanksgiving. really thankful for you guys and for the channel and just the community that I made. So really appreciate you guys for sure. Want you guys to know that. Yeah, man. So thanks for watching the video. Hopefully we do well. We win another parlay of the week or play of the week this week, and win some money. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back later.